Here we go.
Private members' business item number 64, outside the order of precedence, standing in the name of Mr Latham, relating to religious freedom.
The Honourable Mark Latham.
Thank you, Mr President. I move that private members' business item number 64, outside the order of precedence, be considered in a short format.
The motion of the honourable member. All in favour say aye. Against say no. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The honourable member.
Mr President, I move the motion number 64 standing in my name, and as you pointed out at the beginning of our proceedings, 75 years ago today, young men from across the free world stormed the beaches of Normandy to fight for the liberty of all mankind. The great social democrat and American President Franklin Roosevelt said at the time they were fighting to preserve our republic, our religion and our civilisation. How then, in 2019, are so many Australians worried about the loss of religious freedom in our country in peacetime? How then, in 2019, do we look at Israel Folau and his case and wonder how a football player, a resident of New South Wales, has lost his job and his religious freedom for saying things from the Bible that have been said for thousands of years, especially when he said them well away from his workplace? In 1944, the free world fought a dictatorial state. Today, we're fighting dictatorial corporations who purchase through sponsorship supreme influence and control of sporting codes such as Rugby Australia. Now, in their propaganda, these big corporate chiefs preach diversity, but what they're actually doing is trying to impose uniformity. They're trying to say that people need to talk like them, to think like them, to agree with them. And they're imposing this uniformity, Mr President, on people who lack the power and resources to fight back. It's a classic insiders-outsiders struggle for freedom. And how do we know this? We know this indeed from the written evidence of Ms Raylene Castle, the head of Rugby Australia, presented to the Code of Conduct hearing that ultimately led to the sacking of Israel Folau. At paragraph 49 of Castle's written evidence, she's referring to the 10 April Folau social media post, and she submitted, "That evening I telephoned Ms Vanessa Hudson, Chief Customer Officer at Qantas, knowing that the post would be very concerning to Qantas. Only days earlier, Rugby Australia had commenced contract renewal negotiations for Qantas's sponsorship of Rugby Australia, the Wallabies and the men's and women's sevens teams. The post could not have come at a more sensitive time for Rugby Australia's commercial team. I told Ms Hudson that Rugby Australia was taking Mr Folau's post very seriously. I sent her a draft of the statement that Rugby Australia planned to release the next day. Ms Hudson impressed upon me that Qantas wished to see the matter resolved swiftly. So there from the very beginning, Qantas had the inside running. They had the statement of Rugby Australia before it was released to the public. Big corporate power purchased at the expense of an individual in a sporting code." Then, at paragraph 54 of her written submission, Ms Castle states, "A number of Rugby Australia's partners," I thought it might be romantic or married partners of the players, "no, corporate partners approached me directly at a meeting to express their concerns about the Folau matter. These partners included Qantas, ASICS, Vodafone, Accenture, Fox Sports, Jaguar Land Rover and Koala. In consultation with Mr Cameron Murray, Rugby Australia's Chief Commercial Officer, I calculated that based on the comments and complaints I had received personally, at least $10 million of annual contracted sponsorship revenue was at significantly greater risk of withdrawal or non-renewal as a result of Mr Folau's conduct."